I rate Black Ice 4 out of 10. Yes, hello, I'm one proud Bavarian, and this is my review of Black Ice after playing with Japan. And I'm ending the Let's Play here. Why is that? Well, let's get to the explanation of why we're ending it here first. I'm ending it here because this game is ridiculous at this point. So I can tell you what's going to happen here, and as soon as you can be told what is going to happen in a game of Paradox, don't keep playing. Stop playing. So, I can tell you what's going to happen here. Germany is going to lose the war to the Soviets. The Soviets are going to push through, but they are miraculously also at war with the Allies, so they will likely also push through against the Allied powers. I, in the meantime, will secure Ceylon, which has a shitload of rubber. I will probably make a little bit of an excursion over here into the territories that are Allied in this regard. So you know, all of these, potentially also this, to just get the oil. And I will ignore Australia. I have an absolute capability to get Hawaii. I have an absolute capability to get Panama. Even if it is destroyed, I can get it and rebuild it. And the US stands literally no chance in terms of naval warfare. Neither does the UK. Now, why is that? Well, the answer to that is extraordinarily simple. I mean, we obviously have, you know, all these attachments here, which is a bit counter productive, but this is the major fleet. And what you will notice is that our carriers here, you know, they don't have that many planes anymore, but they have many more planes than the enemy. And what happens because of that is we just sink every fucking ship they have before they reach the actual combat line. This is entirely broken, the fact that light carriers can do that and are apparently intended to do it, as I've heard. And it means that we've brought down the US from 400 ships to 119 to 141. We're still sitting at 168. The British are sitting at 140 to 177. We've started to annihilate them over here as well. So the naval warfare is not gameplay anymore. The naval warfare is one priority. There's nothing going on there at all anymore. Other than that, we had the Manchukuo bullshit happen, but that's also just a vanilla tree, let's be real here. United States invading them would be a shitload of pain and just, you know, being annoyed, but we would succeed eventually. And that's practically it. That's why I'm calling it. That's where we will stop this and do something else instead. Or rather, I will say that I will actually, for the time being, stop with the Hearts of Iron 4 campaign, because uni is starting up again. I will make a separate video for that the day after this video is released. Or will I? You know what, I won't. I'm saying it right here. This is the last video of Hearts of Iron 4 for a while, because uni is starting up again. I'm in the very hot phase of my studies for law, and I plan to focus on that because it is more important, obviously, than the YouTube channel. While I do love all of you, I appreciate all of the comments that I've gotten over the time with the Hearts of Iron 4 series. The CK2 series and the Stellaris series, for the time being, will continue. But 2 series a day is much less effort than... Come on. Than 3 series a day. So, the Soviet Union being at war with the Allies is ridiculous, but let's come to the point of what do I actually rate the mod. Why do I rate it 4 out of 10? Why so badly? Well, what I do like generally is all of these, but many of these just give bonuses and malices that are practically the same. You could have summed it up like they did in the base game. There's no point other than, oh, I want to see the high taxes though. I don't just want to assume they're part of the other focus. There's the only reason to do it, and that is not a good gameplay reason. I know a lot of people say I want realism over gameplay value. I do not want that. I've been with Paradox, and I've played Paradox games for over a decade. I think like 12 years at this point. 12 or 13 years, yeah. And I can tell you that I am not, you know, happy with all the design choices they make. But I'm very happy with the design choice of saying, hey, you know what, having good gameplay is better than having... What should I call it? Than having just extreme realism, but that doesn't really make the player, you know, have a gameplay loop that makes sense. And this doesn't. It's not good. It isn't. The same goes for this. Obviously, while I do like the variety and what they went for, I don't like that they just had this forced realism. It's not a. There's no point in that. What is the point of that? Secondly, I love the factories. I love the factories that can speed up your building speed, or you know, rather put down the build cost. It's now 12.5% because we built 10 of these. 10. Right. So that definitely helps, you know, in getting the deficit back. I should have focused more on that, but I think that feature in itself is amazing. Just as much as I think that the research facility feature is great. So these are our native facilities. That's where we are getting our research slots from. And then all of these just encourage us to essentially... Wait, what? Wait, I can't do that. Yeah, you can't build it. Right. Right? Oh no. Not even... You know what? I thought you couldn't build these. Unbuildable. What? Wait, let's just build one of these, right? What the fuck? Oh, next complete never. Right. Understandable. No, but what I'm saying is I love the idea of that. It makes provinces more important other than resources because you have to defend them for the research center. If, you know, they ever were to land you, which they can't do because we have the naval superiority over everything that matters to us. If they were ever to land there, then, you know, they wouldn't have as much trouble at all because I would fall behind on technology one way or another. Other than that, I can't say that I like too much about the research stuff. You know, no, I'm actually going to say it the other way around. I think that this stuff is nonsense. You don't need that. Just go with the normal doctrines. I like that you have all these historical ones. That is great design. I endorse that fully. Honestly, like, you know what? The research trees, they're okay. They're alright. Yeah, they could be better. Like, there's a lot of unnecessary stuff in here. And by unnecessary, you will say, oh, what do you mean by unnecessary? I need this. I need all this stuff in here because it makes me feel like I'm a Grand Marshal. Well, let me tell you something. If this is what your production line looks like, then you misunderstood what the design choices of Hearts of Iron 4 make you do. When they created this game, they obviously, very, very obviously created the game, the UI here, to be established for very, very few production lines, because this is a very terrible interface as soon as you have many production lines. It is a plight to come into this production screen every time I have to do it and search for what I'm looking for, you know. It's terrible. And of course you could say Hearts of Iron 4 is to blame for that because they didn't have a different interface, but I have the one thing to say. If you have a base game and you make a mod for it and you make the mod bad because you can't cope with vanilla mechanics, then that is a terrible mod design choice. Yes, of course the game should change. I agree the interface of Hearts of Iron 4 is not that great. But if you as a modder can't come to terms with that, then your mod is bad. I'm sorry. Yes, historical accuracy, you know, we need to produce uniforms. I completely can see why that is the case. But in this, even if they changed the UI so that you had, you know, like, I don't know, that this was much smaller. Even if I make it like this, I hate this because now I have to look at these tiny numbers. You know, it's a shitty interface. It is. I agree. But let's say that we do indeed get a better interface that lets us see what is going on much better. Then there's the issue of the production just generally not being geared towards this, because what would happen is very simple to explain. I still would constantly, every month, I would have to look into this and see, okay, what are we producing well now? Where are we slowly creeping towards the target? Where are we not creeping towards the target? I would have to do that. And then I would have to go in here every month. And I'm sorry, I'm not willing to do that. That is not good gameplay value. It just isn't. Especially with how the retention times, etc. work. You may say, well, but, you know, it had to be adopted all the time. Well, then let me automate it. If I can't automate it, then what am I doing here? Because this is definitely not worth my time. Now, creating divisions and so on, and making, you know, strong divisions with all the different stuff, I love it. It's great. It's, you know, give me more of it. What are these? Oh, those are the the Indians. This is fun, okay? I get it. This is the great part of this. But you gotta reduce... If you want to make this playable and everybody's going, oh, you just can't handle the difficult decision making, you have to do your... No, that's... that's not it, buddy. What this is about is just about somebody choosing to make gameplay mechanics even worse than they are in vanilla game as is. And putting that into a mod for the sake of historical accuracy. And I appreciate all the buildings, but you could literally sum up a shitload of these just under weapons. Just literally give the garrison, you know, give them normal weaponry instead of the where the fuck is it? Where is here garrison maintenance equipment? Or give them support equipment here, right? And then if you want them to get different bonuses via a garrison maintenance equipment, just give the unit garrison. Give that. Make that a special unit that uses the same equipment, but that unit gets via research bonus. It gets different bonuses than a normal unit. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do that. They collectively chose not to do that. They chose to instead depict it by giving you as much resources, etc., as humanly possible, even though it is garbage. Trade is the same thing. I saw that they're looking into equipment import and storage. That is great. I'm very much in favor of that, but it's not in game, so I'm not going to judge it. Can't judge you for things that you haven't done yet, can I? Partisans are nice, but here's the deal, okay? I've played Hearts of Iron 2, Hearts of Iron 3. They had partisans running around on the map. Hearts of Iron 4 doesn't do that. They just sabotage your stuff. You know, the thing about partisans is that the way they are shown here in the game, and it's always like, oh, but it's realism. But the way they are shown here in the game is not actually realism. What do I mean by that? Partisan uprisings. Okay, partisan uprisings in the Soviet Union, for example, when Germany moved in, were not as large as they could be in this game. It's impossible to have a whole brigade of partisans rise up, because what I've noticed, once you have that, the enemy, if it's their normal lands, can position troops in that new partisan area. That's not how it worked. It just isn't. It doesn't make any sense from a historical accuracy point of view. And the deal with the partisans here, that you have to actually do it, you know, here's a question. Why do you think, in vanilla, do I not put any garrison into China when I attack China as Japan? The answer is because I expect the war to be over in vanilla, which I can do, which is very simple, in about a year, maybe less. And that means that whatever damage we take, I don't give a shit, I don't give enough of a shit to build troops to take care of that, because I expect to annex China and to never have to deal with these rebellions or with the sabotage ever again, right? That's why I didn't do it here. If I did it, if I started doing it in Black Ice, because I have to, and because I even have to garrison colonies, some of the colonies anyway, Bombay for example, I don't know why, just have to do it, alright? I can't tell you why, but I have to. And if I have to do all of it, it is just a hassle if you have to do it during the war. Now with India, it's a bit of a different case. You can certainly make a case for having India, you know. By having it, when did they take that? Oh, they just annexed all the colonies, and that of course included India, which made zero sense because I was in India. Good game, good mod, terrible event mod. That is the biggest part, but let's not move on to that yet. I'm okay with the supply, etc. That's a neat mechanic. I'm not saying anything against that, but I am saying a lot of things against everything you just heard. I think the rebels, while it makes me nostalgic, it makes me feel like Hearts of Iron 3, but I think it's a shitty mechanic because that's just not how rebels worked at the time. If you actually follow, the thought process of Paradox here, I know a lot of people were upset with the rebels not being on the map here, but if you follow the thought process of Paradox, there has never been a rebel force that would participate in normal combat like this. The simulation that you have if you do the garrison command of rebel suppression, the simulation or the idea behind it, the abstraction that you have here, where it essentially goes like, hey, this dude will now defend a region and have, essential skirmishes with some rebel groups. They will try to get into them, get into their heads, kill them by supplanting their spy networks and so on and so forth. That makes sense. That is what rebel warfare, what partisans actually were like in World War II. You didn't suddenly have, like in China, where we had 5 divisions and Soviet tanks sitting around just because the rebels were there. Are you crazy? That's not how this goes. It's a shitty mechanic. It's bad. It's just bad. Besides that, I mean, the carriers clearly being broken is also terrible. But here is what is actually the very worst, the very, very worst of this game, of this mod, sorry. Everything driven by events. Yes, Operation Torch is hot fucking garbage. It's terrible. It's a terrible choice. The fact that the Germans spawned troops into Norway, terrible. It is awful. What kind of design is that? The AI in this game is smart enough to do naval invasions. Why the fuck would you spawn troops there? As a player in the UK, you can't do anything about that. They spawn here, and they spawn up here in what's this called, Narvik, right? It's just you can't stop Norway falling, despite you having the navy there, etc. It's a terrible thing, taking away agency from both the player and the AI. And they keep doing it. They kept doing it over here. It got all buggy. Look at this shit. What the fuck is this? Are you kidding me? You know, it's just like, and of course you can say, oh, but you should have just known that. You should have done demand Indochina first. Why didn't you know that? Well, the reason for not knowing that is that I assumed, you know, I couldn't trigger these things always, and I assumed that I could just invade it. And I mean, I did it. Look at this, it worked. It's just the agency that they took from me here is a terrible experience. It adds nothing to have these just turn over to me, you know, and become friendly, and then I'd give them territory or anything. It's terrible. It's a terrible choice from a design point of view. Other than that, I don't know. Other than that, I feel like the Germans were entirely retarded. Started the war in 1940, declared war on the Soviets in September 1941. Come on, dude. Don't be... What the fuck is this? It's terrible. It's a 4 out of 10. I like the historical flavor. I like that it actually made me feel like I'm not just, you know, playing a game, which I obviously am, but if I actually was, you know, in it for a better world. No, a better world than a Japanese leadership. No, it actually made me feel like I was playing a war game. And I like that. I really do. But the design choices here that I brought up to you right now, they are awful. They're terrible, and I wish they hadn't made them. I know that they're not going to change it, because that's the character of these mods. They just never change at some point. So, what would happen? Again, Germany would lose, Soviets would march in, would fight the Allies, would probably win against the Allies, at least in Europe. Then the Allies would constantly harass the Soviets with invasions. Maybe we get some stupid ass bullshit meme where the Soviet Union attacks Japan, or Manchukuo attacks the Soviet Union, you know, bullshit like that. And I have absolute naval supremacy. I can get sail on, then they have no rubber whatsoever. No rubber, just no rubber. Let me see here. Rubber, right? Yeah, the United Kingdom has like a tiny little bit. Australia has a tiny little bit, but they wouldn't be able to keep up with any airplane, you know, creation that I'm doing. They would have really old shit. It's over. You know, this is not how you do this. All of these are friends, right? But I'm gonna end it right here. Thank you for watching. I had fun, despite the flaws. I still would not recommend Black Ice. There's just so many design flaws inherently in there, and I mean, what game is it if we just, you know, win because, well, we have carriers and they don't. Making 5 a year, 10 a year, 7 a fucking year. Holy fuck. Alright, I will see you in any of the other series. I'm sorry if you subscribed for Hearts of Iron 4. There's probably going to be streams every now and again with Hearts of Iron 4, but as a series for the moment it is dead. Mostly because CK2 is running, it will be running for a while, and Stellaris is running, it will be running for a while. So, yeah, Hearts of Iron 4 is dead. Whenever those other series I might switch to Hearts of Iron 4, but at the moment I feel like I have played most of the good mods, you know. If you're like Alex the Rambler or Drew Donnell, you just can play any shitty mod, because it doesn't matter. You don't show that much to the viewers, right? But if I played any of those shitty mods that they are playing that are on the workshop, then I would just play like for the first 3 episodes and I would say, wow, this mod is empty. Amazing, what a great gameplay experience this is. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to bother. How did they even... Oh, they marched it, right. Sure. Yeah. All right, so that's all I'm saying. I will see you in the next one. Have a good one, and honor and dignity for Japan, everybody.